Hello, friends. Welcome to Maveriks Happy Hour. I am Kirk Henderson. It's a little early for happy hour, for being honest. It's about 2 o'clock on Friday, May 30th. We've got, a little over 3 weeks to the draft. I am here. It has been a chaotic week for me. Chaotic a couple of weeks, really, but why would that be any different than normal? If you guys listen to my last podcast, you'll know that my oldest broke his elbow. Which has resulted in our normal work-life schedule being pretty imbalanced for the moment. So trying to get these podcasts done is pretty difficult. Not really a ton going on in Mavs land other than sort of trade speculation. When you get a guy like Cooper Flag being number one in the draft, and then you have the number one draft pick, it sort of takes any drama out, particularly after Tim McMahon has confirmed with Dallas that they're actually going to use the pick on him. Let's hope that they really do use the thing. But at the same time, I sort of don't mind the piece of it all. But the flip side of that is it turns us almost immediately towards needing to look at the roster and the salary cap and all of the things that really, really make being a basketball fan these days a little bit of an accounting affair. It's not always my favorite thing, but it is something a lot of fans really like to do, like to look at. I don't mind talking the numbers, but it also requires kind of like having like 9 tabs open at any given point in time. So remember, if you guys are new to the show at all, or just haven't really, ever participated, there is a link in the YouTube comments to a StreamYard link. StreamYard is the app that we use to broadcast this show live. It's really easy to join. You can join by phone. You can join from your computer. You don't have to show your video. It would be interesting to me just to hear what you guys have to say. I really like, the fan-driven aspect, the community-driven aspect of our show. It's something that is why I keep doing this week in and week out a lot of times. So remember, there's that link in the comments that you want to talk about. And, we can kind of go from there. I got a few things that I would like to list off. And then we can see if anybody has any additional thoughts. It's been kind of an odd few days in Mavsdom. I mean, my favorite thing that I got is I get these marketing emails all the time of like quasi-scientific studies or Vegas-based odds of this and that. And the one that I got today that's just been absolutely killing me. Let me see if I can actually share my screen here. See if that would share the screen. And let's go to Twitter here. Share this. So it says there's a link to a study, and it says Dallas Mavericks fans top the NBA for online negativity. And it was essentially just a look at social media posts. A new study by Vegas Insider finds that Dallas Mavericks supporters are not only among the top 5 most vulgar fan bases, but also rank as the league's most negative. And it was kind of by a margin, like very small margin. I don't even remember who the second one was. I wonder if I have it in my inbox still. I might still. Let me go over to the trash and see if I can take a look at this. Where it's like, yeah, the Celtics were number 2. So, the Celtics, the team that that were an injury, a rough injury away that took them out of the NBA championship. The Philadelphia 76ers were 5th. The Knicks, who were like 2 games away from the finals, are 6th. So it's a little bit of a joke study, at least to me. But we ended up there all the same. And I've just had a good time talking about it on social media, just different people that are either yelling at me for not being negative enough, which I think that's a riot, or people that are like, what do we have to be negative about? We got Cooper Flag. And it's like, I don't know the methodology of the study too much. I'll just assume that it's primarily about everything Luka Doncic related, because that's a really simple solution. We got a comment there in the chat that I think is worth discussing. Luke Burns says that he's seen Chicago media been talking about bringing back Daniel Gafford and giving up Lonzo and a pick. I would do that deal, says Luke Byrne. I too would do that deal. I don't even know what kind of pick would be possible in that regard. But considering the Dallas Mavericks don't have picks, or at least they have picks, but it's they don't have near enough assets under their control. That's of interest to me. The Lonzo Ball of it all, he is just not a very healthy player. Let's go look up how many games played he's had the last several years. But he's such a talented player. And, he's 6'6", 190 pounds. He only played 35 games last year. He did not play the previous 2 seasons. It's a pretty massive gamble if he doesn't work. And as Colton Dodd notes, it would be a bit of a death sentence. But the death sentence of it is it would force the Mavericks to speed up this sort of teardown of the team if Lonzo didn't work out. If he did work, if you were able to get, I don't know, 55 games out of him over the course of the season, 25 minutes a game with another stopgap guy, like I know everybody's really high on Chris Paul, or even if you bring back Spencer Dinwiddie, if you can cobble together minutes, I think there's some there, and the Mavericks might be a lot more competitive than I have been giving them credit for on Twitter. Right now, I look at the roster, and because of the lack of the guards, I see a team that's probably 7 to 10 in the West, maybe lower. Folks don't really like hearing that, but point guards and play initiators matter a great deal. And right now the Mavericks have play finishers. So that's why I labeled this fake trade season is here, because there is you just really have to assume that the Mavericks are going to do something. Really do something in terms of moving around one of the pieces. Now, who the piece is, that's a little bit harder to figure out, just because it's there's a lot of different options. Like when you get Cooper Flag, it makes things easier, but it also makes things more important and harder. And that's what's very interesting to me this time of year. So all right, so that's kind of that. That's a good comment. So thanks for firing us off there. Remember, if anybody's watching the show and would like to come hang out, there is a link that should be pinned in the YouTube comments. It's a StreamYard link, really easy to join. We always have had folks up through the last several weeks, but I know I'm starting this a little earlier than normal. Kind of had to today. Didn't have a lot of options. There are some other fun Mavs things that I think are at least worth discussing. This is like a Wayback Machine thing. So if you're a fan that's not over the age of 35, you're probably going to find me talking about this annoying. But the Team USA, the under 16 group, came together, and Eric Dampier Jr. is on the team, which is just fascinating to me. Like it's one of those things that I can't help but be like, who is what do you mean? Eric Dampier Jr. has a really good basketball playing son. It threw something. It just sort of threw off the entire. It just threw things off for me. I wasn't ready for it, and I'm pretty fascinated by the entire concept. So the other guys that have made the team that are interesting to me are Beckham Black, who is Orlando Magic, Anthony Black's brother. And then we have who was it? It was Marcus Spears Jr. You guys know Marcus Spears from ESPN, and he's a Plano guy, which is just really, I don't know, it's fascinating to me. He's a heck of a basketball player. All these kids are amazing basketball players, but just knowing that Eric Dampier Jr. is on a team and is actually quite good. He looks like Dampier was obviously a massive human being, but he was fairly stiff. His son looks to be pretty fluid and athletic, which at those age levels, everybody looks way more fluid than the competition they're playing against. So that's, I don't know, it's kind of funny to me. All right, so we finally got our first our caller here 10 minutes in. We got Zach. Welcome to the show, Zach. What's going on?
What's going on, Kurt?
I'm kind of
good to be back.
It is nice to be back. I'm looking, we always have a dead period in the season, usually around like August to September. So I've been kind of like, these last couple of weeks have been a little boring for me, but as we inch closer to the draft, it'll get more exciting.
Yeah, I'm currently overseas right now. I didn't want to cam up. It's nighttime over here in Thailand, but I had a few opinions about, everybody's been talking about who to trade, Gafford or PJ. I would really lean towards trading Gafford and keeping PJ as that filler in for AD whenever he's not available. And you can let me know if my background gets a little too noisy. But
that sounds good.
Okay, but yeah, I would really rather keep PJ if Cooper Flag is who a lot of people says he is, can play 4, can play 3. I think the lineup of him, AD, PJ, Coop would be really, really nice. Gafford has become to me more tradable than PJ, but I do think Cooper Flag is more like a Jason Tatum 2.0. I know Jason Tatum doesn't really have the best reputation, but I did say 2.0, so he's a little bit better than Jason Tatum.
Would you consider Jason Tatum a top 10 NBA player?
I would.
Okay,
I would.
I think I would too, as much as I make fun of him. So to say that a potential number 1 overall pick reminds you of a top 10 NBA player is a compliment. It just is.
Right.
Tatum is lame. He's not bad. Like that's do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Doesn't really have anything original. I see it all over Twitter. It is kind of funny. It is funny. But yeah, I do like the trade. The guy just left a comment about I would do that trade. We need as many, especially if it's a first round pick. We need as many first round picks now with the addition of Cooper Flag. And I don't want to trade any first round picks moving forward because they become more valuable in building this team around Cooper. You know what I mean?
I do. There was there's a radio station here, 103.5 The Fan, I think is the name of the station. And there was a guy yesterday who wrote, he talks on the radio. He mainly talks Cowboys, but he also has his own Substack. And he wrote this piece that kind of, I disagreed with his entire premise of the Mavericks traded Luka because of the max, and here's why, here's all the financial implications, this, that, and the other. It's pretty, kind of drove me nuts, if I'm being honest. But one thing he was right about is that the way the CBA is structured now is that teams that are going to compete have to both be lucky and in terms of injuries and in terms of who they draft. There's just not a lot of room. There's almost no room for error as you build the team, because otherwise you end up in this sort of cap purgatory where even if you have good players, you can't do anything. And Mark Stein says there's going to be a whole lot of movement this summer. And to me, it feels like teams sort of exchanging their various distressed assets, not necessarily any. And it worries me, as it's a little bit ridiculous to talk about a worry when you have a number 1 draft pick, but I don't want the Mavericks to get too far behind the pitch count, so to speak, in trying to do what they're talking about with a 2 timeline approach, because if you mess up one thing, it kind of wrecks both timelines.
I see what you're saying. The new CBA is kind of crazy. The 2 timeline thing, I don't really know what to think of it right now, but I do. Maybe I'm on the other end. I think this team can compete for a championship. I think if healthy, just like I believe if they were healthy this year, especially, given the teams that are still in the playoffs, I think the Mavericks would have been in the mix. I mean,
I really would have been curious. I just would have been curious because Anthony Davis looked bad, but then they also didn't have any dynamic guards really to play with him. And that was the whole point of pairing him and Kyrie together. So until we see it, it's when I talk about saying that the trade failed, it's largely because AD got hurt, Kyrie got hurt, and they fell out of the playoffs. That's just sort of a results-based approach. But if you're talking about the vision of the team that Nico Harrison wanted, you can at least get there and say, okay, I see why. Because the 2 guys work well together. I think they would work well together.
I do too. I don't know, man. OKC, man, we just have their number. I'm just not scared of them. Even now, I think them making it to the finals is kind of fluke just because we're not there. I just feel like we're just a team that just picks on them.
The fact
you're
that,
so good,
the
but you
only
can't beat
teams
it.
us and the Nuggets are the only teams that have beat them 3 times this season. Like, it's preposterous. I tend to agree with you just because I think they have fake shooters. But one of the things they've been allowed to do is they were allowed to do the same thing the Mavericks were allowed to do in the playoffs, was essentially every single play is a foul, and they just don't call them all.
Very true. Very true. While Shea has the insane whistle, oh yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So that's where I sit with that. But I mean, I get where you're coming from. Where I just think this next year is so tough because if Kyrie, I want the Mavericks to bend for him to be a bonus for their success, not to be a requirement for their success.
That's fair. I mean, he's a rookie, but I think the addition of Cooper Flag does make that more of a possibility, depending on how good he really is coming out of college. But I do want to say this about Lively, man. I think I don't really hear many people saying this, but I think he needs to start shooting a little bit.
Sure. I don't think he will, but I want that as well. Like, I think he is an offensive threat, and they don't really do anything to make him one other than handoffs and rim runs.
I don't know if it's like they don't want him to or he won't do it. I mean, but now that we have Anthony Davis, that just gives our offense a completely different look. Like, if just think about if Lively next to Anthony Davis was more of like a Miles Turner, Brook Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And how different that would make our offense, especially with Cooper Flag coming in, who can play big as well. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's kind of the Mavericks' challenge at the moment. Is the whole roster is so heavily weighted towards your 4 and 5 position, and if you consider the fact that they want to play big, I guess your 3 position. But you want there to be space. And the thing that I find interesting, at least going back to Lively's draft days, is part of what had him rocket up the draft board was the fact that he was able to shoot the 3-pointer, and he just doesn't take those in Dallas.
Exactly.
I really, even like won a game, I don't see I don't have a problem with it compared to some of the ugly shots that we were seeing towards the end of the season from other players. Like, I was just like, okay, let's get Lively in the corner shooting a 3 every now and again. Who cares?
Yeah, let's keep the defense honest, because we already seen that the offense was kind of clunky. You know what I mean? Like, Cooper's going to need driving lanes. Other guys are going to need driving lanes. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I mean, let's give it a try. I mean, Jason Kidd likes to experiment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah. I mean,
I think you can. If you're going to play big, you got to find a way to create space and not have them clumped up like it's the 1980s and like the same 15 feet of space.
Well, I guess it's going to be AD that's going to be out there because he doesn't want to be in the paint really anyway, I suppose.
See, and this is what the Lakers guys have told me, that part of his ineffectiveness in Dallas was because they didn't do very much to get him on the move, like him in screen situations where he's the roll man. And I'm sitting here going, is that because he didn't want to do it? Or because the Mavs didn't want to do it, or because he wasn't physically capable? And I don't have an answer. Like, he went down from 25 points a game to like 19 points a game. Now, obviously not a very big sample size because he only played first half, and then he played like 5 or 6 more games to end the season. But they just, he's an effective offensive player, obviously. They just have to find ways to get him looks that aren't isolation Dirk Nowitzki post-ups.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, yeah, they have their work cut out with Kyrie out. Lonzo may be the best option, but I'll end with this. I'm going to say it again. I think you have to keep PJ. He, to me, is like AD insurance. He can fill right into that 4 spot and, be a starter. We've seen him be a starter, come off the bench. He's done that in the past. It's much harder to replace a PJ than it is a Daniel Gafford. I wouldn't mind Moses. Was it Moses Brown? He came and had some good games for us. I wouldn't mind him coming off the bench.
It's funny because like PJ's numbers don't really blow you away. He played 57 games last year. He shot 45% from the field, 38% from three. He averaged just under 15 points, just under 8 boards, two assists, a block, and a steal. Good numbers, like good numbers, like the kind of, I don't know, you're looking at NBA 2K and you're like, that guy's a pretty good player. And I think that what the numbers don't tell you is just how important he was to Dallas on nights where we didn't have anybody. You know, he faded a little bit towards the end of the season, but I don't think his ankle was right. I just think to me, he's the guy with a much higher ceiling. Like, we know who Daniel Gafford is, and that's a very good player. But I think PJ could continue to become more with how he's played. I mean, his three-pointer finally went back up after several really rough seasons. And I just think there's something there with him. I really like PJ as a player.
I do too. And you look in the playoffs, you need wings. We would have Cooper and PJ, and I know we have other wings, but they're like more our bigger wings. But I just, you think about the bench, Najee, PJ, Christie coming off the bench. That's pretty crazy.
Could be fun. I still need more ball handling. I mean, we saw what happened in that play-in game when Dallas didn't have any guards, and it just kind of got out of control pretty quickly against Memphis. So they've got to figure out some sort of guard answer, and I just don't have a great one. But they have something in mind. I mean, that much I think we can be sure of. So the roster is going to be quite different than it is right now, or at least one or two players different. And it's interesting that once you get Flag, who you can trade actually opens up to pretty much everyone on the roster.
Yeah,
it's a matter of do they want to do that or not.
Yeah, some people on the blow it up side. I'm not quite there yet. Maybe give us a year and I could be there, but I think you have to at least run it after everything that's happened. You have to give it a shot at this point. I mean, you just have to.
Well, we'll see, man. We'll see. It's fun. Hey, well, I really appreciate you kicking the show off with me. What time is it where you are? I'm just curious.
It is 2:25 a.m.
Oh, you're a trooper. Full 12 hours. All right, man. Will you have a good morning, good night, whichever it is?
Real sicko, man. Real sicko.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, have a good one.
You too. Take care.
All right, coming up next is MJ. MJ, what's going on, man?
Hey, how are you, man? How's it been going?
It's okay. Just kind of bebopping along here.
Yeah. That last caller, Zack, he had some good points. I think PJ is vital, though. I think he's crucial to the Mavs. They need to keep him. Others,
it's tough though, because I think him and AD duplicate one another a little bit, and he did not really play well with AD. And I would rather keep him, but I think if you were to look at like the impact numbers, the Mavericks are going to go, well, we have AD, therefore we don't need this guy. And I just don't think that's the right approach.
I agree. I mean, to be honest, I would love to trade AD, although I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because of the current GM, Yeah. But, if you think about it, it's hard to kind of envision or look at what's happening because Kyrie didn't play. But think about it. We got Cooper Flag with Kyrie and AD. I mean, I know Kyrie's going to be out for a while until maybe January, February, maybe later next year. But just think about that combo of Kyrie being a former Duke alum and then Cooper Flag, and what a great influence Kyrie is on young players and really young talented players, and the fact of the influence he's going to have on Cooper Flag, and the fact that Flag has such a huge determination to get better, and he's proven it. I mean, every year he's gotten better and better. And if you think about it, I mean, I'm not saying that people in college go to school all the time. I'm sure a lot of them, but now this is his entire career. I mean, he doesn't have to study or go books or go to class. I mean, now this is his full-time job.
Sure.
And you really have to wonder how much better he's already very good now, but think of how great he's going to be in 2 or 3 years.
Sure.
You know?
Well, the developmental, what I have learned about developmental basketball is that the players who make the biggest leaps in their kind of good to great often happen between like 16 and 19. And Flag is just 18. He turns 19 in December. If he were, I think, something like 12 days older, he wouldn't have been eligible for this draft. He reclassified to become a year up so he could get to college earlier, so he could get to the NBA sooner. I mean, he's really on the developmental timeline. He's going to be one of the youngest players like in recent NBA history that's this good. The only Jeremiah Fears is another one that's coming into the draft. And so to get a guy with this much development, or at least developmental years, depending on what sort of ceiling you want to put on the guy, is really, really valuable.
I saw some of the footage, some of the video. I think it was last year when he played with some of the NBA players, and they said he did so great. And the stuff that I saw, it didn't really jump out at me. So did you see any of the footage, the video of him playing against the NBA players? What was your thought of that?
My thought was that he belonged. And, when you throw a 17-year-old out there with 12 of the best American-born NBA players and he looked fine, that is wild. It's kind of hard to contextualize it because you couldn't, and let's just say in the NFL, I don't know, you couldn't throw freshman year Arch Manning from the University of Texas. You couldn't throw him into the NFL and him play a reasonable game. Like he just couldn't. Like that's just not the way that sport works. The fact that he didn't. And really what was most interesting to me was what the other NBA players had to say about him after the fact, which was he had very clearly earned their respect. I mean, Anthony Davis is one of the guys there, and that's actually one of the things I look the most forward to after the draft is hearing what the various Mavericks can say about him.
Yeah, that's a great point because I guess I was thinking, I heard that he was like dominating, but I didn't see that he was really dominating. But like you said, he belonged, right? He didn't. And then also there was that player from Golden State, that the Buscemi guy, whatever, that curly, blonde hair, who had a decent playoff run. He was in that. He was playing there too, wasn't he? He was playing with Cooper Flag on his team.
The select team is what they call it. I think.
The select team. Right. I'll tell you, changing topics. What really annoys me about OKC is I loved it when Doris. No, I don't like Doris Burke per se on average. I mean, a lot of times I try to turn it down when she's announcing or when she was with. Mike Bream is great, but I can't really stand her, or the Richard guy sometimes has some decent points. But she made the point about him being a free throw merchant, which I was like spot on with that, because that dude, and what really irks me is that he gets these fucking calls and then he fucking pushes off every fucking time to get space and never gets called. I've seen many OKC games. I mean, I'm not a fan of them, but I usually, if they're on, I'm watching them. I've probably seen maybe, they've had a lot of national games. I've seen maybe 30-40% of the games. I've never seen him one fucking time get called for an obvious offensive foul that gave him space to get his fucking lame ass fucking mid jumper off. It ticks me off. And I mean, they get away with a lot of fucking fouls.
Yeah. Like
the dude, who's the guy who came from the Lakers, defensive guy for OKC, bald head, older guy.
Alex
What's
Caruso.
that guy's
He
name?
just fouls the whole game.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I wanted him on the Mavericks.
Yeah, but that guy's fucking fouling all the fucking time. I mean, and then the worst is that fucking Dort, that Lou Dort guy. That guy is just a flop. He'll fucking fall or break your fucking knee, your ankle. Those fuckers, and I hate to say, they're probably going to win the championship because, I mean, New York is really good, and of course they got to win in Indiana, and then they have a seventh game at home. But Brunson, man, I don't know what I mean. God, he's playing like fucking Luka did last year in the playoffs. Seriously, and I can't believe I'm saying that. I mean, there are some stretch now, not the complete package of passing, but some of his shot making, and you'll have to agree, it rivals what Luka did, what Luka's done in his playoffs. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, Brunson's been amazing. It's kind of gross.
I mean,
I don't love it.
Like he's learned. It's like he learned from Luka. Like
Yeah.
Luka taught him stuff because he's playing just like fucking Luka. It's like, I'm not seeing the Mavs, but OKC, I don't know. Do you see that there's any chance now? If Indiana, do you see there's any chance that Indiana could possibly beat him if Indiana makes it?
See, Indiana's problem is their defense.
Yeah.
You saw that with the Knicks. It's like they just don't have great defense. They can score with anybody, but that, just sort of one of those things. You don't feel great about it.
Do you think Carlisle? You think they're going to be able to win Game 6, or do you think it's going to go 7?
I hope they finish it in 6, just because I don't really want to watch these two teams anymore.
Do you think Carlisle? But I mean, do you think Carlisle is? I think he's a really, really good coach.
Sure.
I think there were times where he was outcoached in the playoffs when he had Luka.
I think certainly. I think that I was looking at like the Clippers series in 2022, the one that went to 7 games that was not played in the bubble. But he had there were some times that series where he couldn't, like the Mavericks got up in game 3. They got up 30-11 on the Clippers.
I remember that.
And then they only scored 78 points the entire rest of the game. And like they just couldn't generate offense. And some of that is on him.
I wonder, do you think he could devise some kind of scheme against OKC to where, I mean, not that they're going to shut them down, but that they'll be able to outscore them per se?
Yes. Yes, because like once that team actually gets going, like the Pacers, they're quite incredible. And one of the interesting stats that I read is, OKC causes lots and lots of turnovers.
Right.
And one of the things I saw is Tyrese Halliburton in the 2 games against Oklahoma City this year only had 1 turnover. And Halliburton has been really, really incredible when he's controlling the ball. He's absolutely controlling it. So the thought process has to be, along those lines where it's something special could potentially happen in that regard. With the Thunder just not being able to get the turnovers. That's to me what has to happen. Right. And I don't know. That strikes me as extraordinarily difficult to do.
What was the record, when they played this year or last year?
I don't. I just saw that, so I could go look it up, but I'm not. I've got my work phone I'm apparently like needed at work, so I should probably go soon. And I'm like trying to do 9 things at once here.
I'm the same way, man. Taking a little break.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, buddy. Keep on, man. You're doing a great job.
All right, we'll talk soon. Okay.
Take care, buddy.
All right, bye. All right, I had one question in the chat. There was who was it here? This is the problem with me, like producing my own show. Did the PTA cards in games says I had a trade target. No one is talking about Jaden Ivey. The reason is there even a chance he's available because of that injury. I have an unrealistic trade mapped out if you're curious. I mean, Ivy would be preposterous if they could somehow pull that off. I just don't really see a real way. So I would love if you could, if you know me on Twitter, send me the trade. I would love to see that. It is fun. Fake trade season. Everybody have yourselves a good time. Josh and I'll be back Monday. He's got a piece coming out that we'll want to talk about. There's the Matt Riccardi, Take That With You podcast episode. There's just a lot. There's some Maverick stuff which we could read into. And I didn't really want to choose to do it today because I would like to end the week on a happy note. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And I will finally get the ad situation figured out. I figured out the problem. So those of you who have been keeping me posted that the mid-roll posts aren't showing up, I think I have the answer now. Everybody be good. We will talk soon. Go Mavs.